to welcome all our new board members, and let's start with the approval of the agenda. And I know that a lot of you just got this packet, like right now. So we'll take our time, we'll read through it. It's a slimmed down agenda, so it shouldn't be too much for us to handle tonight.
On the approval of the agenda, Chris, may I make a comment?
Sure.
Can we, and it will be my job to do that, can we remove the fact that on approval of agenda there shouldn't be any additions? That should be removed altogether. Additions for a meeting need to be noticed ahead of time, so it's sort of a waste of verbiage to be on there. What do you think? And it's been there for years, I'm just curious, because one of the issues we had in the past where they were adding things on the agendas and not noticing.
I agree that's not proper to do that.
As a group, what does...
I think we ought to think about it.
Well, my feeling has been that the agenda for all public meetings should be drafted at least 1 week in advance and shared with the participants of the board or the commission to weigh in and do those edits a week in advance so that it can properly post it and notice to the public. Again, so no changes on the day. There should be no surprises.
Is it ever appropriate for minor housekeeping?
Good thought, good thought. Okay. That's good thought.
And the thing with it, we should endeavor to do that a week in advance. You're going to find it's pretty tough to do. But we should endeavor to do that. And Bill, that's your challenge.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Give yourself more work, okay.
So for now, we'll leave it in
So be it.
but we should never have anything, I agree with you, on the agenda that's a major,
Nothing significant.
that the audience should come knowing that we're going to discuss it. I agree.
Otherwise, you can wait till the next.
Yeah, well, yeah, if it can.
Right.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I have one question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go right ahead.
I should know from attending these meetings, but under committee reports, there's open board report. Is that when board members can make comments?
That's correct.
Okay.
Ask questions, bring up whatever,
All right. Thank you.
maybe address an issue.
I'll support your motion.
I don't think I have, we don't have a motion. Somebody want to move?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll support.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Public comments. We'll start with the first row, second row.
You want me to go now or after?
You can go now if you'd like.
Okay, sure.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So
State your name, address.
Sure. So Toby Hutchins, 6330 Meadowwood Lane. Okay. So Toby Hutchins, 6330 Meadowwood Lane, Fenville, Michigan 49408, just right off of 63rd Street. So I'm coming today to you as a member of the Fenville Board of Education. First and foremost, congrats. I always try to come at least once a year, and I was here a year ago today, or at least not today, but a year ago. And so 5 completely new faces. We've kind of made it a board goal to be able to go to our local municipalities and really kind of give an overview of the things that are happening at Fenville Public Schools. Again, we're having a little conversation, and we're one of the 3 school districts within Saugatuck Township. So I've got a little handout for you, a little hand afterwards, but just some things going on in Fenville. In terms of enrollment, our enrollment is down 20 students this year, so we're right around 1,300. So we're still a pretty good sized school district, and school districts across the state are losing enrollment. So that's something that we're kind of trying to address. One of our biggest things that we're doing right now is the bond that Fenville passed last fall for $23 million for capital improvements to our school district. And we have a new, nice, beautiful middle school roof, which is what everyone loves to see. Next summer is when the bigger construction will start with a new bus garage, completely renovating our high school and really making it into a 21st century facility, which will be exciting. Our elementary school was one of 2 schools in the entire county to receive a high leadership impact grant, and that's going to be worth over $56,000 for the next 3 years for us to really focus on literacy initiatives in our school district, which is incredibly exciting. We remain one of Allegan County's most diverse school districts, both racially, ethnically, and socioeconomically, which is really exciting, and it's one of our greatest assets as a school district. people often think of Allegan County as not being too diverse, but in Fenville, we've got it all, which is really great. In terms of like academic performance, since that's what schools are kind of graded on the most, or maybe chided on the most, about 45% of our juniors and seniors are engaging in advanced coursework. 59% of our students who speak English as a second language are showing proficiency in their growth. People don't know this, but Fenville is about, we're a 50-50 school district now, 50% Hispanic, 50% white, and with that Hispanic population, about 20% of them speak English as a second language. People don't necessarily know that about our school district. We also have 80% free and reduced lunch, and we actually were able just to bump that up to 100%. So everyone in our school district now gets free lunch. So we have high poverty as well. So for us to be showing gains in these areas that maybe traditional news reporters don't go out and like really try to look at those numbers, that's a big thing for us as a school district. And overall, I don't want to talk your heads off. Proficiency at our elementary school grew by 11% overall, and between subjects they grew at a minimum of 2% and a maximum of 15%. So we have some really kind of great things going on as a school district in Fenville. And with the old board and now with you, anything that we can do to engage in partnerships, we'd love to have you in our school buildings. If you want to come and read during reading month, absolutely do it. Like, we'd love to create those connections. And if you have questions about, different proposals within the township, our government students would love to, be a part of that, or like have a discussion about that. Survey them, see what their thoughts are. We're trying to get them involved in the community as much as possible. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And we have a little handout for you. Also, check us out on Facebook. We just started a My Fenville story where we have graduates, and Ada Moorhead, if you knew her, we were actually able to record her 3 days before she passed away and talk about her Fenville story coming to here. So,
Great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Second row, anybody else? Third row. Ma'am.
Hello, my name is Donna Leonard, 2924 Lakeshore Drive, Saugatuck Township, I guess. In between, so we have Douglas Geobox, but I would like to very much thank the outgoing board for what I feel was a terrific job during their tenure. I've gotten to know them all as they've been helpful to me through many issues. Aaron, I found to be a very knowledgeable person. Everything I asked him, he didn't have to look up, he just knew it. He knew it all. He's had so much experience in the township and been a neighbor for 27 years. Lori also, and Brad I've known for a lot of years. I've known Stacy forever. I've known John forever. And I've kind of known Bill just because, not personally, but because he's on the board. And Chris, because you're Dan's cousin. But anyhow, in this small town, everybody plays the chess game, I guess, where the cards move around. And while I thank the outgoing board, I wish the incoming board that they have a good tenure, I guess I would say. And hope that good feelings can be reestablished with everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
That's
Donna.
very kind and generous, thank you. Anybody in the next row? Next row after that? Anybody else want to speak? Here we go.
Hi, my name's Tony Palega, 5746 122nd Street in Fenville. Not completely sure if this is, I know we've got our own number of 7 on this, but we have one real quick comment about, we're asking for clarification. Several years back, this board authorized medical marijuana provisional centers. What we're seeking to know is, at that time, did you authorize any grow centers? And if so, how many and what size? We're just looking for clarification on this.
Could you send that to me as a township supervisor and I'll get it routed to the appropriate people?
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have comments? Public? We'll close that section. I think I owe an explanation to all of you who showed up. Some may be looking and say, why do we have this new board here? By state law, when there's a recall, once that election is certified, the people who were in office at that time are no longer in office. So that happened about 2:30 today. At that point, as the lone township official at that time, I swore in Bill Wester as the clerk, and he, this afternoon, swore in the remaining board members. So that's how we got here. Okay, let's move on to invoices. And again, take as much time as you want to look at these. If anything stands out as a glaring item, we'll make some more work for Bill, and he can look and find out why that was spent. And I would say for the purposes of this meeting, with everybody being new, if there's an item that you want to question, we'll take that off the approval and follow up in another fashion. If there's anything that stands out as something that you don't think is clear or should be on there, sorry.
Obviously, given we were put into place pretty quick. I do see these invoices post dated 9/1 to 11/07/2018. I think we need to look into that. That would be paying almost 60 days, paying invoices to vendors. During our election run, I had a couple of vendors question me about the timeliness of our paying our bills. They get paid, but you know, I think some people have the mentality that you're going to keep that money, get 10% interest in the bank if you don't pay for 30 days, when we should really pay within 30 days. But that's something internally we can talk about, and we can
Yeah, I
post
think,
accordingly.
you know, there's net payment terms with every transaction, every contract. In my business, it was going to be net 90, so they were using your money.
Absolutely.
Not that we should be in that same position, but that's something I think that should be looked into. Does anybody have anything they want clarified? If not, I'll move that we accept the invoices. And check register also, Aaron?
Yeah, if you want to, and then just state the amount.
Let's go ahead and look let's take a look at the check register as well.
I'll support.
So you're going to make a motion.
To support.
You should make the motion to approve the invoices in the amount of $28,082.76.
I make that motion to approve the 28,082.76.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so if you take an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting. Bill, is there anything that you might want to say about the minutes?
At this point, no. I haven't digested them enough to be quite frankly with you. I guess you'd probably be the best one to scrutinize them because you were here for it.
Right, they look fine, but I think maybe you were mentioning to me today that you may want these to be a little more extensive, that kind of...
I think the public has asked for that.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I was gonna comment on that.
okay.
I forget how many months ago, but it used to be, especially in reference to public comment, the two public comment sections, the speaker's name was identified, the subject they were discussing, and a little bit of a summary of their position on it. That changed sometime in the last year, where it now just says things like, speakers, John Reinhardt's. Well,
Didn't know what he
that
talked
doesn't
about.
help me at all. It certainly doesn't help the public. I'd like it to say John Reinhardt's was here speaking about the need for a septic tank.
I couldn't agree with you
Law.
more, and I had some discussion briefly before we were sworn in today with with Chris about the fact that it'd probably be a good idea, because I'm also a board member as well as taking the minutes. I don't think the clerk can get into a good debate when he or she's trying to do minutes and trying to be active in the meeting. So I've asked Chris that we open up a little bit of money to get not a professional, but a minute taker for that meeting as well.
No, I think that's a great idea.
And hence, I brought my daughter in tonight to do such.
Well, if I may say so, I remember when she did minutes, and they were very thorough.
Thank you, very detailed.
And they could even be a little more thorough on the actual board items discussed and the committee reports. 'Cause that's the only way for the public to know
I
what
couldn't agree
happened.
entirely.
Short of course of videotaping our meetings, but
I was gonna just suggest that, does anyone have feelings about videotaping the meetings and posting them? Because if so many people can't attend, I think it'd be helpful. if-
I agree.
I'm with you. I don't know if we have to wait to put that on the next agenda, but I'm good to go.
let's just do it. Have a YouTube channel.
Right.
So I think what we should do before we do that, let's identify the cost.
Right.
Because it would be good to know that. If it's $1 million, maybe we don't. If it's
treasurer
10,
would
we
like
should.
to know that.
Right. So maybe for the next meeting, we could.
Yeah, perfect.
How's that
Okay.
sound?
Yep.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, great. I'll move then to approve the minutes of the October 3rd, 2018 regular board meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Great job. Okay, correspondence. This is from John Saros on medical marijuana. And I think what we need to do here, for you those who have been following the issue, we were addressing it until the election occurred. Now that's occurred. So I think we have to address it. And the place to address that will start with the Planning Commission. And we're going to have to find an appropriate way to do that. There was some discussion by some folks who wanted to express their opposition to the issue. We need to give them appropriate time to do that, but we also have to address it. And how we'll do that is up to, I think, starting with the Planning Commission. So we'll address this correspondence and all of that with, to get back to you on that.
May I interject one thing?
Sure.
The time and age of cell phones and all that kind of stuff, just as an FYI, a judge has just put a hold on pot cases after Prop 1 passes. Just an FYI, you might want to, it's on Wood TV 8 app. That may play into that whole thing. I'm not opposed to what you're saying, I'm just as FYI.
Yeah.
So now Prop 1 is on hold.
You
Okay.
mean it's not passed? When you say on hold.
Voters passed it, but it's on hold.
Oh, it's on hold.
I'm surprised. But
Doesn't surprise me.
That's recreational.
That's recreational.
I want to clarify, Chris, are we saying that this will definitely be an agenda item for the next meeting of the Planning Commission?
I think it's something we as a board owe it to give them direction, should they address it or
I
not.
agree, right.
Now, when the planning commission decides something like this issue, is it done?
Well, the Planning Commission will come up with an ordinance or something of that nature, and then the board has to pass it.
So we do have an opportunity to
Absolutely.
just our opinions. Okay.
So I know most of the work that we've done on marijuana, from a zoning perspective, has focused on the 2 industrial zones, those red areas on our map, where they think that would have been the appropriate place. I'm not sure where we're at with it. It's been a while. We were going to address it. The Planning Commission was going to address it before the ballot issue hit, and they said, why don't we wait and see? You
So
know.
it could be on, are they meeting in November?
I don't believe it is on for November.
Can we instruct them to put it on, or?
I think we owe it to them to kind of check with them and see how they want to deal with
Alright.
it.
I just don't know how that correspondence, the
Yeah.
communication, being new here.
Yeah,
And I
well,
believe there's an opening
that's
on the
right.
planning commission as well, so.
That, and we also are in search, we have a zoning administrator, but it's interim, and that's Al Aleckson.
Right,
So
because
we're
that's
gonna,
open until the end of the month.
gonna have to do a little bit of, like today, dancing and just kind of
All right.
figure it out.
That's okay. But let's,
Yeah. Okay,
I think we could help you with your question too.
and you're,
I mean, if we get to speak, I think we can help answer your question about the planning and this board.
oh, okay. Well, that was the
Sure, come on
appropriate time.
Alright. So anyways, I submitted a letter, which I think you all.
Are you John?
I'm John
Yeah,
Searles,
gotcha.
3438 Riverside Drive,
Okay.
Saugatuck Township. The planning commission should require any growing operation, if the planning commission should require any growing operation with these stipulations, I am requesting the board to authorize a 1,500 plant growing facility, medical marijuana growing facility. And with me I have my associates, Scott,
I'm Scott Habermill.
Tony Palega, and Clem McLean. So,
yeah, so again, I think this is something we're gonna have to go through the proper channels, and that'll start with our planning commission.
So with Allegan County today, and speaking, I spoke with you earlier,
Yeah.
came here and tried getting the information, and nobody could get it off the internet, including Allegan County. They just sat there and spun and spun and spun.
Yeah.
Speak up, please.
Yes, that's right. So after speaking this afternoon with Chris and then going to Allegan County, they made it very clear. I'm just reporting what I heard, okay? What I was told to ask here today from them is, if that comes and it says, the question is, to you guys, is it the responsibility of the planning committee to determine this? The size of the facility, or is it the board's responsibility? And the feedback that I got from them was, the board, I'm just repeating, they said the board has to make the decision first. So an example of that is, we would want to know before we bought one of these 3 zone areas.
Gotcha.
Because it's $20,000-$30,000 to submit the plans to the planning committee.
Yeah.
And we're talking about just growing, not retail, anything else.
and building a new facility.
So here's what I'm gonna suggest we do. Before we answer that question, we've got a lot of new people. I think we owe it to them to get some background on this. And you're talking about building a big facility in the township, there certainly is a plan.
Not a big facility.
Okay, a facility in the township, there certainly is some type of planning and zoning implication to that type of decision. And I would personally appreciate our experts, who are the planning commission, to really help us with that decision, that type of decision. So and we're not in a position
How do we
tonight.
get on the agenda for the building, the planning?
No, the best thing to do would be to table until next month.
Yeah, we'll table it's really not something that's.
We're not rejecting you, you
Right.
simply have a brand-new board that was told they were here tonight.
Yes.
So it's not fair to you, until we can do our homework and then get the
Yeah.
best answer for you.
Yeah.
I think that's something we need to consider as soon as possible, because there are three real estate deals out there right now for these 3 areas that are pending on sales, deciding what each township does, and that's what I was told in Allegan County today. Each township will be completely different than the next township.
Yeah, well, again, I think we need, in fairness to all of us being new to this.
No, we thought it was gonna be the old board here tonight, so I'm sorry for that.
So did we, yeah.
Okay, that makes clarification.
Surprise!
Well, I wonder how long we can do this. 6 months? Thanks, guys, appreciate it. Unfinished business, AMR discussion. Aaron, you got the latest data on AMR? You want to kind of bring us up to speed on what you're seeing there?
Yeah,
And you shared that with Tony?
yeah, I talked to Tony, he said he has a copy of it, and, I talked to Dave Stugents, and, or rather, I emailed him, and he said there wasn't anything particularly that, stands out. This
They
isn't the
can't hear.
full. Oh,
I mean, can
I'm
you,
sorry.
I don't know.
I can kinda,
Somebody said they can't hear.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Why don't you grab the mic?
mic.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's all wireless in there. So, it isn't the full provided detail sheet, just, and again, that comes at the request of AMR. The board does have available to it the full sheet that has all of the detailed calls, the times out of the chute, you know, that they're getting their equipment on, into the bus, and then the time from the dispatch to the call itself. And you can have Tony kind of describe what these terms mean a little bit more. But it's just kind of a brief summary of where the breakdown is coming from. You have the Holland dispatch area, you have the Fendel dispatch area here on the sheet. You have all of the months of the year, and then you have the different types of calls out of the chute, 90th percentile, and then the response time average, I believe, is from the time that they receive the call from 911 dispatch until the time that they receive at the site. Is that right, Tony? I thought I saw Tony here a little bit earlier. It's outside. But if you keep an eye on these over the course of the year, keep an eye on the times. It's the best industry standard to hold AMR accountable to their contracted service. So if the information is all available, they asked just to make it a foilable document, and then you can actually see every call breakdown in the full version of the report, but you have the summary report here. You know, beyond that, it's a regularly provided report in our contract. It can come every month if we request it. Every quarter, I think, is okay. If you want to do an every month request, it's okay too for him to provide that.
So what are the key indicators here? First of all, how do you assess the response time? Is it in line with what it should be?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it is.
And how about the Fendel calls? That seems like quite a few calls come out of the Fendel station.
Yeah, I mean, the Fenville station is all there for every month. And there is not a big discrepancy that I can tell, and Dave could tell, you know, in those times, in the priority times. And then just the thing I've learned in going over this too is that they're not always at the one or the other. There are these designated crossroads where you may see an AMR bus. They can be ordered to maybe monitor or like patrol an area or be at a convenience crossroads. One is off of 58th Street, you know, and they work close with the first responders in our district to kind of be available for that need all throughout the township. So they are coming in the south part of the township from Fenville, from Holland, and then also at times at designated crossroads, kind of like the one that I see a lot is over by 58th Street, Old Allegan Road. They were parked there for a little while. But it's interesting, there's a lot of data, and you can do averages, and they pull out exceptions for calls that maybe there was a rule where they just took a little too long, maybe there was an issue, you know, in some instances where there's a fire or something or an obstruction, it can kind of throw their averages off. So they are allowed these exceptions. You want to keep your eye on that. One thing that we did find when we met in committee, Tony and his expertise kind of found it, was that there was a transcription error in the old reports, and that led to extended times in these averages. So, but that was cleared up. It was on AMR's end, and they fixed that, and there were none of those errors in this report. So,
May I ask something?
yeah.
Does this fire chief get this data?
He can, yeah, I mean.
Probably make it a good way to
comes to
start
us.
throwing an olive branch out there was probably to make sure Greg gets that,
Yeah.
because he can probably comment more professional on it and know more about it than us.
I think what we established with Tony, who used to drive an ambulance, so he knows what he's talking about. Yeah, he knows what he's
The
talking about.
supervisor for
He was getting together with Eric over at the firehouse, and they would compare the data, and that's how they found these discrepancies. So if they want to continue to do that, that's very helpful, and we would appreciate it. But I think that's a good sanity check on these numbers. But
Yeah,
overall, you're telling us the times look good.
yeah.
We're getting response out of the Fendel station, which I think is something that should be important to all of us. They're still covering us. And any other questions you guys have for on this issue?
It's on the agenda as unfinished business. Is there any action we need to do, or is this just an FYI?
It's a regular report
Just
that is
update.
provided in the
Okay.
contract. If you want a monthly or a quarterly, just let me know. But it's specifically stated in the contract to have these provided to us and the board here.
I'm good.
Thanks, Aaron. Good
Thank you.
work. Hardship guidelines. This is something we do every year. It comes from the Department of Treasury, so I can only believe that it's absolutely 100% correct and true. So I think we have to adopt these guidelines for the township. So it's gonna take a board action. If you want to read through it, take about an hour here. We'll wait.
I looked through it earlier.
Do we know, is this issued annually?
Yeah.
And are there significant changes to be pointed out to us?
You know what? I just voted for it every year. It's what they expect you to adopt as far as exemptions where,
Right.
it's basically stating where the poverty levels
Right.
are and where you get breaks. So, this will have to be adopted by roll call and signed by the clerk. We're gonna have to redo this form. Bill, more homework?
Roll call on poverty hardship, we have to have a motion first.
I move that we adopt the procedural changes for the 2019 assessment year for the poverty hardship guidelines.
Okay, I'm gonna be calling random.
Will we get a second?
I'll support.
Okay.
Okay, Aldridge,
Discussion.
Yes.
any discussion? All of us, any
Well,
discussion?
the certificate's got Brad Rudick's
Right.
name on it.
We're gonna change that.
We're gonna change that, so then. Yay. Yay.
Okay,
Any
any
more
more
discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call?
No.
roll call vote, Aldridge,
Yes. Yay.
Pickford,
Yes.
Chris,
Yay.
and last one.
Helmrich.
Helmrich.
How did it come before a vote? Aye, thank you.
Yes. Lester,
Yes, myself, yes.
motion carried.
Motion carried, sorry, I'm new at this.
Okay, road plan. What we have here, there's nothing, no action required here, but I'm going to ask you to go ahead and take a look at this. We have for years, since we have a couple of road millages, put together how those millages are going to be spent to make sure that they're basically done equitably through the township. So spread it around, or however you want to talk, describe it. There's also some things in here called PASER ratings. That's where the county is establishing what condition the road is in. That obviously helps us prioritize which road needs to be taken care of. Again, there's no decisions made here, just familiarize yourself with these, because what will come before us then will be asked to approve a project. And it's most likely coming from this capital plan. What we need to be mindful of is that there are a number of things in works that are not reflected here. We've talked about some speed control, traffic control on the Blue Star. That has not yet been reflected in this plan. So we want to be aware of that. And other types of things that come up. So it's pretty extensive. Take a look at it. I'm sure, if you're not aware, the road authority for the township is the county. They're the ones that do all the work for us. They actually are they have jurisdiction over township roads. And what we do is we just contract with them. We pay them to do projects. The other thing that you're going to be seeing from the county is that they want to start charging up front for preliminary engineering and things like that. So they're going to look to front load a little bit more of money from the township, so you just have to be mindful of that. All that money spent comes out of the road fund, so it's there, and if it's not, we don't spend it. And that money is under a special millage, so therefore it's voted on by the language in that ballot and can only be spent for those purposes.
You can tell Chris has a very extensive background on roads, because how long were you on the road commission when you were a
12
trustee?
years.
He's very good at the roads.
So I think that's all we have to do as far as that's concerned, unless you have any questions or would like
I have a process question.
Okay?
So, specific streets and locations and type of road work are identified here and the year they're planned to do them. As those approach, is there a process of notifying the residents affected by those?
There is. We recently did that for the Clearbrook subdivision. We basically expanded one cul-de-sac to IFC standards for fire truck turnaround, modified the other with a turnaround lane, and then put a new asphalt mat over all of those public streets in the Clearbrook subdivision. What we did is send letters out to the owners, and then before construction began, we had the county put out a big sign that said construction starting. Now, do we do that on every road? No, but for a subdivision where it's going to impact, you know, what people coming in and out and things like that, you want to let them know. So that's the kind of thing we do. We've had some issues in getting good communication from the road commission because they're understaffed, but we're trying to correct that. Because I think it's important to let residents know when there's going to be tar on the street and they're driving their new Cadillac, and things like that.
I'd like to suggest that notification always be given, not just to subdivisions.
I agree. I agree.
I know when I live on 64th Street around the corner, and that was re-asphalted, I don't know, 2 years ago. But you didn't know till they were there tearing it up and you couldn't get it to your driveway. And that was a good thing,
Yeah.
but it would have been nice to get a notice like you do when there's a potential assessment issue coming up.
I agree, and we should endeavor to do so, and I think when we appoint a new road person, which we need to
You need to
do.
report, yeah.
We'll make sure that person
No,
does
that's
that. You want that job?
Huh?
Want the job?
No, but I know someone who does. Maybe. And it was interesting 'cause just a quick anecdote. As you know, until yesterday there was a campaign going on. And I was out, I don't remember what street, but I think I was out with Abby. And it was a street that dead ends. And we met this woman, and the street was beautiful. I mean, beautiful new asphalt and lines and everything. And the resident was complaining to us, saying, basically, why the hell did you resurface my street? It was a dirt road, and there's only 5, 6 houses here, and that just seems like not the best use of funds. It just seems there should be a process where someone like that could actually come and say, well, if you have a higher priority, maybe consider it.
It was a surprising response to him.
Right,
Yeah.
it was like, she wasn't thanking anybody, she's like, why'd you have to do, the gravel road was fine for me. So.
We've had that. There's still a gravel road on 60th Street because the people on that road, we were going to pave it and they didn't want it done.
Okay,
And
as
I
long
said,
as there's that communication.
I said 15 years ago, or 12 years ago, I said, now, this might not get done for a while, and it's still not done.
All right,
So,
well, you're.
the reason you do it is if
No.
it improves the safety, if there's
Sure,
going to be more
no,
development.
and people are clamoring for it, yeah.
Right,
Definitely.
right.
All right, thanks for the clarification.
Okay, any other questions on the road plan? Okay, committee reports. Planning Commission. Oops. Road Committee. Oops. Interurban. Oops. Fire Board. No report. Jim, from the Parks Commission, do you want to give us an update? This is one of the hardest working
Jim.
men for
I
free
know Jim.
in the entire township. Jim's with our Parks Commission. He's done a phenomenal job.
Jim, what's your last name?
Searing, S-E-A-R-I-N-G.
Go.
Start with River Bluff. Should I go with, we've got 4 main parks. We've got River Bluff off Old Howard Road. We've got the dog park. We have Sunset Park, which is the road end on the lake. And we have Veterans Park, that little, probably used to be a rest stop when Blue Star was the main road. And then Alamancher Park is an area just south of the cemetery off North Street. That's not developed, but it is sort of considered a park. River Bluff, we had a plan to replace a bridge that's in bad shape. We're still waiting for the state. It affects a small portion of the wetlands, so we have to get state approval for that. I had to deal with the Boy Scouts to do some work on the trails. The Eagle Scout that was going to lead that decided he wanted a different project. I still have a goal to sort of enhance some of the trails at River Bluff. So that's, I was hoping we would get something done before it snowed. We painted the veterans' little gazebo there, that shelter, just in time for Veterans Day. So we've done that to spruce up that park a little bit. So that's sort of the latest. Any questions about the parks? The dog park is our most popular park. A lot of dog fans.
Well, we are, if you don't know, we're very fortunate to have volunteers like Lori and Jim and others that have done a phenomenal job. There was a time when our parks were just overgrown and nothing was going on, and they're really improving. So we're fortunate to have them. Thanks, Jim. Open board report.
Anybody here? Anything you'd like to discuss?
Anybody have anything?
Can I make a couple
You
comments?
sure can. That's what this is for.
Since
Say
we-
what you want.
When I woke up this morning, I didn't know I'd be here this evening. It might be later in the month. But I want to take this opportunity to say how honored I am to be here at the table. And I really want to thank, because most of them are in the audience tonight, but the four of us newbies, we all have spouses that have been putting up with the recall and the campaign effort that started back in January. So I want to thank them. And also we have many of our supporters that helped make this campaign successful here tonight, and their spouses. So I want to just, again, thank all of them for everything they did and their support. And Chris, I want to thank you. You came into this position kind of unexpectedly last summer when there was a change in where the previous supervisor lived, and I think you've done a great job managing things, and especially now during this transition. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I do want, on a personal note, I can't help sitting here thinking about a very dear friend of mine and mentor that passed away in May, and who would be so proud of all of us here for what we've been able to do. And that's Patty Burkholz, who sat at this table for years and years and years, taught me a lot. She was a great neighbor, and I just want to acknowledge her and thank her.
Great. Anything? I thank you for those words and welcome. And my commitment as the last man standing before this election is that we're going to make sure this township works. It works well. These are very qualified people. Let's put the election behind us. Let's get to work for the people. This is their house. They tell us what they want to do. We should do what they want us to do. And Bill and I have enough experience. I think we can help kind of get us through this transition, which is going to be a little bit bumpy. We have to remember that when people come in this office, they expect services. And talking with Clerk Janetsky today, he said he's amazed at how demanding our customers are. But they are. They want their tax bills. They want their permits. They want service. So let's make sure we continue to provide that level, which I think we can. And let's move on with doing the business of the people. Okay, with that, public comments.
Erin Wilkinson, 310 North Maple Street, Saugatuck City. I just want to say first to the board, congratulations and welcome. How excited I am to have you here. And to let you know that I will continue to plan on volunteering my services to record your meetings while you're trying to figure out what you're going to do for that. But I suggest you speak with the fire department, because they have actually purchased cameras that are installed. You can flip them on and off. I think it's probably the most cost-effective way, or one of the most cost-effective ways to work on recording your meetings. So I just wanted to say that. And also, I would just like to suggest that you consider adopting the International Fire Code as it was before it started to have all of the changes that have kind of created the rift and a lot of what fueled this recall. So I don't know what it takes to get an item like that on the agenda, but just something you might think about. Thank you all very much for your hard work. Appreciate it. And your service.
Thank you. Anybody else in the next row? Next row?
Good evening. It's nice to be here and see all of you in your new seats. My name is Cindy Osmond, 6064 126th Avenue. I would like to suggest, because you have this big transition to make and a steep learning curve, that you schedule a special meeting for a week or two out to consider joining the Michigan Township Services and scheduling a training meeting. That's not free, but it's well worth it. It will give you the confidence that you need and give the professionalism that you need. Also, at that meeting, I would suggest that you consider negotiating with Frank Walsh for a time and work study analysis to see how much staff you really absolutely need here and make sure you're not overstaffed or understaffed for the best use of your money. Thank you.
Somehow our roll got skipped
Go,
over.
come on right up.
That was me.
Well, once again, Diana Leonard, 2924 Lakeshore Drive, Saugatuck Township. As we all know, this was a very contentious and difficult year for everybody. I think that the outgoing board, from my experience, did a really
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, is this turned off?
Is that on?
Is it on?
Just switch there.
Is there a button?
Yeah, it's on. Okay, can you talk right into it?
Well,
There you go.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
oh, God, I have to put my lips on it. It has been a very contentious year with a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of difficult feelings, and I'm feeling that we're in a small town, we all know each other in all kinds of different ways. I am very sorry for the people that have been hurt and replaced, because I do feel they did the best they could with what was given them. And 2 of them were educated and certified in their jobs, so they were well qualified. They didn't need to go to township services. But now we have a new board. It's how it happened. And I see you looking at me, Stacy. I see that.
I'm not giving you the eye.
I would like for everybody involved to be able to heal with each other. It happened. It was what it was. And we're a very small area, and we really need to just heal and kind of make amends to each other for the bad feelings and try and move on with good feelings. I didn't want to overlook that it was a very difficult and sad time for some people, and a very, I guess, good time for other people. And here's to hoping that things will move forward in a good way with public input, so that the public actually knows what's being passed and it has a say in it. So thank you for letting me voice this. So everybody be kind.
Thank you.
Sherwood Trail in Benville, and I just want to say how ecstatic I am to see the four of you sitting here, and I'm looking forward to a great relationship. Thank you.
Hi, Bill Fever, 6838 Sherwood Trail as well. Congratulations, glad you're sitting here. I wanted to remind everybody, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here if you're going to report on this later, but there's 2 meetings tomorrow. Friends of the Blue Star Trail Group have done some preliminary work and are making recommendations. There's going to be a meeting at 4 o'clock at the Saugatuck City Hall, and there's going to be a follow-up meeting to repeat the information at 6 o'clock at the Douglas City Hall. If you're available, I would encourage you to attend either or both of those meetings. We're trying to move the trail plans forward and overcome the issues that we've had in joining the trails that Douglas has done, the trails that the township has done, to get through the city of Saugatuck. So I encourage you to do that.
Thanks for that reminder. So Bill was just reminding people that there are 2 meetings tomorrow at 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. at the Saugatuck City Council. One is a workshop. At 6 p.m. is at Douglas.
Yes.
And that's to review a study that was done for the section of Saugatuck Blue Star Trail. And those are public meetings. Thanks for the reminder. Anybody else?
I'd just like to comment to Bill, and I can write to him too, but thanks for sharing that about tomorrow, but I wish they would put at least each of us perhaps on their distribution list to know in advance. 3 of us met with Richard and several of the Blue Star Trail board members a month ago to get an accurate update and discuss more about how we might move forward. So I think we would all agree we'd love to know about those and be at them, but if we can make it tomorrow, I'm sure we'll try.
Any other public comments? There being none, this meeting is adjourned.
Good job.